Think of the irreparable harm done to the sport.
Hi everyone, my name is Eric. I am a former competitive figure skater, and this is my figure skating reaction series. For those of you who don't know me, I am a 5-time US National Championships competitor through the senior level. I trained for about 15 years in the Chicagoland area with top coaches, including most recently Olympic coach Denise Myers. So long story short, I know my stuff. Let's get started.
Hi guys, sorry I'm talking a little bit softly right now. My roommate is, I think, asleep. It's kind of late. I just felt like I had to or wanted to make this video now instead of putting it off, and I've been thinking about it, so here we are. So sorry about that, but hopefully I can raise the volume so it'll be fine. Anyways, basically just found out that the case from the CAS, Court of Arbitration for Sport, ruled in Kamila Valieva's favor, basically, but ruled that she will be able to compete in the women's individual event at the 2022 Beijing Olympic Games coming up on Tuesday. Yeah, so that ruling was, I don't know if I can say it was shocking, but it happened. And I think it was shocking for a lot of people. And overall, given my last video about this topic, you probably are not surprised to hear me say that I think this is pretty unfortunate turn of events. Of course, I wish the best for Kamila, like in general, but just kind of in general and for the sport of figure skating, I do not believe that this is great. So first off, I'm gonna just start off by reading the reasons for why they decided to let her compete right now. And so that'll kind of give context for the rest of this video, basically. So there's like a media release about this. I'm sure you can find this online. It's all over Twitter and all of that. So basically, they determined that there's no provisional suspension should be imposed on the athlete due to the following exceptional circumstances. First, that the athlete is a protected person under the World Anti-Doping Code, WADC. Second, the USADA anti-doping rules and WADC are silent with respect to provisional suspension imposed on protected persons, while these rules have specific provisions for different standards of evidence and for lower sanctions in the case of protected persons. C, the panel considered fundamental principles of fairness, proportionality, irreparable harm, and the relative balance of interests as between the applicants and the athlete who did not test positive during the Olympic Games in Beijing and is still subject to a disciplinary procedure on the merits following the positive anti-doping test undertaken in December 2021. In particular, the panel considered that preventing the athlete from competing at the Olympic Games would cause irreparable harm in these circumstances. Finally, the CAS panel also emphasized that there were serious issues of untimely notification of the results of the athlete's anti-doping test that was performed in December 2021, which impinged upon the athlete's ability to establish certain legal requirements for her benefit, while such late notification was not her fault in the middle of the Olympic Winter Games in Beijing 2022. And so in conclusion, the panel determined that permitting the provisional suspension to remain lifted, the suspension that was kind of originally in place for a hot sec, that is appropriate. Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. So basically the kind of primary reason and the first reason that they're giving here is really mainly due to the fact that Kamila Valieva is a protected person, and then under like the rules, a protected person is if they're under 16. So she is 15 years old. By the way, I think the Olympic age minimum to compete is 15 right now, so she met that, but she is under this 16-year-old thing, which means that she's a protected person, which means that she's in this weird almost now at this point, it seems like a loophole type thing where because she's 15, like she doped, but she's a protected person, so therefore she can still compete. That's a little bit of a summary, but that's kind of what it feels like. So yeah, and so basically I feel like this tells the world and to the president, as I mentioned this in the last video before the ruling even happened, but this sets the precedent that if you are a 15-year-old girl, a 15-year-old athlete, because of these kind of loophole rules, you're like maybe okay and you won't get punished, potentially, at least right now, won't get punished for doping and using drugs that are doping drugs that and banned substances by the sport that could be dangerous to your health, number one, and number two, make you have an advantage over others, do this to win the Olympics and not get punished. So I feel like it's almost like encouraging or just making it okay that like, okay, if you're 15, you're doing these illegal things or like, you know, going against the integrity of the sport, but because you're 15, it's okay, we'll let you go. That seems so dangerous to me, right? Because like if it's not actually that dangerous in the sense that I don't think there'll be other 15-year-olds who are competing who'll be like, oh, like I'm gonna do doping drugs now because I won't get in trouble. No, it's not that. It's actually much more dangerous in the sense that adults who were responsible for this to happen to someone like Kamila, that they will not be held responsible, or that they will view it as potentially okay. Well, they told us that she can still compete, so we didn't really do anything wrong, you know? So that is the dangerous part, and that's kind of the integrity of sport, and also just the safety and well-being and everything of young girls, and young people in general. So I think that's kind of wild. Yeah, so I think that protected person loophole clause kind of was really like abused in this case. Like there's obviously reasons why they want the protected person status to keep them safe, and like in the sense that maybe it was like an unintentional, or not that it was unintentional, but like in a different case where it's like because they're so young, it's like not really their fault. So like basically not be as like harsh on them in a sense. But in this case, it really seems like a loophole, if that makes sense. And also another thing is like, that's why they didn't officially announce that it was her before, even though they said it was a minor and she's the only minor, because she was a protected person. And so obviously then everyone realized that it was her. Some of that stuff like kind of makes sense, but just in this case, like it just seems unfair because at the end of the day, she did do the banned substance that would have prevented any athlete from even coming to the Olympics, even though they didn't know at the time. It would definitely prevent other athletes from competing, and so she just does have an advantage, and she's still in this competition, and so it just doesn't really make sense. Okay, we're rambling a bit. So I guess secondarily, next, they mentioned this like irreparable harm thing, especially because they're like, well, this will do irreparable harm to Kamila if she doesn't get to compete this week. But like my first, and I think a lot of our people's first reactions to that statement is just like, irreparable harm, like think of the irreparable harm done to the sport in this ruling with all the things I just said. And the integrity and all of that. Like that is the irreparable harm that I think of. Like, yes, it's sad that Kamila wouldn't be able to compete, but like, that's what happens. You know what I mean? Like in these cases, or that's what's supposed to happen when people are doping. And so yeah, so I feel like that's just, like, I get it in the sense that like, I guess when I first thought, you know, maybe they're just trying to give like the absolute maximum benefit of the doubt to her. Like, what if they weren't completely certain, for example, right, that she actually did it? Like, this one lab said it, but like maybe there's, I don't know, something happened. So they're like, we're not 100% sure. And so therefore it would be irreparable harm to like not let them compete, but then later find out actually she did do the banned substance, it was true. But in this case, they're not even saying in this response, they're not even denying that she did the substance. They are saying, yes, she did the substance, blah, blah, blah. And by the way, a small side note, I was reading a little bit about like these tests. People were like, oh, what if the test is wrong? But they're like, they've gone through like rigorous like cross-examination or whatever, like in different labs are testing it and like different confirmations and like all this stuff. And so it seems very unlikely, because I'm sure that they would have mentioned that if they had any doubt that it was true. So yeah, so the fact that they just are like, yes, she did a banned substance, yes, this is like she did that, but blah blah blah. Yeah, that's what's really kind of made me think that, wow, like whatever irreparable harm done to her, like, well, I mean, so that's the sport thing. But also, if we're talking about irreparable harm, like, I guess either way, but like, maybe this would have either way, but like, Kamila's gonna get so much like undue hate, really, unfortunately. She's going to get that. Her and not even all the adults necessarily, like, she's going to be the center of attention for that, right? And people are gonna, a lot of people outside of Russia are not gonna view her, if she even wins, who knows at this point, like, I don't know what's going on, you know what I mean, like her training and all that and what she's gonna be like. But if she wins, like, a lot of people are not gonna view that as legitimate. People, it's gonna be worse than Adelina Sotnikova, guys. Oh my god, even though Kamila is so talented and is so great. So there's gonna be irreparable harm done there anyways, but that's kind of a side note, and a little bit off topic, but yeah, so that's irreparable harm bit. So yeah, this is just all very sad. Again, I do feel sad for Kamila. Her reputation outside of Russia really is going to be ruined. Even though the who is to blame is as I have said, the adult around her, and at this point now, the governing of the sport and the systems in the sport. So yes, very sad. And then I do hope that more of this will be investigated ASAP. You know, maybe, I don't know exactly what the process will be like from here, but maybe her results can get nullified later on, medal taken away if she wins one after the games. Although I was talking to someone about that, my friend about this, and I was like, oh, well, you know, like maybe she'll just win and then it'll get taken away later, like whatever. But first of all, not whatever, but second of all, even if that was the case, it would still be very unfair to the people who competed, who, for example, the person was in 4th place, then they could have gotten 3rd and been on that podium and had their Olympic moment and blah, blah, blah. Whereas now they're like, okay, they'll get the bronze medal, email them to the mail, like, that's great, but like, it's just, it's not fair. Even if that happened, it still wouldn't be completely fair. Although it would be better at least. Yeah. Also, really quickly before I end, I want to note that, or just a speculation or just a wonderment, basically, like, I wonder what Kamila's mind space is like at this point. Like, you know, she's obviously by far the favorite to win. I think most people still expect her to win, probably. And she still was training, which was questionable if she should have been, but she was still training throughout this process. Although I guess sometimes she had some rough practices and whatnot, I don't know. But I mean, like, what your headspace must be like after this, you know, I don't know how she's gonna do it, but she's strong. Like, she might still pull off that Olympic gold, I don't know. But anyways, yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how she actually does. And I feel like now everything's gonna be so scrutinized. Every potentially overscored PCS bump or GOE or like the pre-rotations or whatever else, like, yeah, people are going to be watching her, and a lot of that is going to be just, I don't know, sad just to see. Like, I'm going to feel bad for her, but also she should not be competing. Anyways, yeah, we'll see what happens in the actual event, and then also afterwards. You know, hopefully people, like, you know, at least all over, like, a lot of the US skating, like, Twitter, or like a lot of people's Twitter's Wakaba Higuchi liking the US kind of statement that they're, like, sad by this, like, anyways, things like that. Just continually putting pressure onto the governing bodies, that saying that this isn't okay, and demanding justice, basically, is what kind of we're all doing right now a bit, or what we're all thinking. I don't know, but this is pretty wild, and we'll see how this continues to unfold over the next few weeks and stuff. One last thing I actually did want to note. Oh my god, this is getting longer than I thought it was going to be. There's a lot of talk about how, you know, this is going to make people not watch skating anymore, which is fair, because it damages the integrity and all this stuff. It's funny because I'm kind of cynical, but I feel like skating in some ways the sport has already been, like, ruined for me, or like already feels like corrupt and unfair, and like all the stuff that people are saying now. I think a lot of people who have been following the sport really closely and for a long time might agree with, some people might agree with this, but in my mind, like, you know, hopefully this is like a one-off thing, and it really might not be, and it very likely could not be. But if I'm just putting on all my blinders at the moment, if it's like a one-off thing, she's a protected person, like, you know, how likely is it that this would happen, that she's a protected person, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, putting that aside, even the amount of basically corrupt judging and other things going on in the sport in all countries and internationally, that already, like, that for me has already just made me sometimes just feel like, oh my god, the sport is just not fair. And they try to make it more fair, right, from the 6.0 to the IJS. They really tried, but did not completely succeed, basically, right? So things like and sorry, there's like a trash can sweeper outside. I'm gonna pause for 1 second. Drive away, drive away, drive away, drive away. Oh, it's getting louder. Okay, it's driving away, thank God. Sorry about that. But things like, in terms of judging, people's PCS, people's GOE, people's even technical calls, those are seemingly in part based off of the country that you're from, the reputation you have as a skater, and this and that. And it's just like, it already feels so unfair. And I've talked about this a lot in previous videos, so you can go back and watch those. But a lot of that stuff has already made me feel like, wow, like, this is just not super fair. So anyways, but this is definitely, hopefully, a huge wake-up call for everyone in and out of the sport. Hopefully everyone is going to be talking about this and putting pressure and all of that. Sorry, it's literally coming back the other way. It's this, like, garbage thing at night. But yes, hopefully it'll work out. I don't know. But anyways, that's pretty much all I had to say. Yes, so good luck to figure skating and the Olympics and everything. We'll see how it goes. All right, that's all I have. See you guys next time.
If you like this video, smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, and turn on that notification bell. See you next time.